hard-working tugs of Baltimore, pulling the world within reach, and every day continuing a great tradition.
The images are as familiar as Al Sanders' smooth baritone voice, a working reporter after a story. But on his way to being half of Baltimore's most popular news team, Al's own story has taken some unusual turns.
Somewhere in 1961, I left college after 2 years and decided that after knocking on every radio station door in St. Louis that if I was going to get a job, I was going to have to leave St. Louis. And I went toward California, where we have some relatives, my family. I got no farther than Flagstaff because of car problems and a snowstorm and wound up working in a country and western station, believe it or not. It sounds like a fairy tale. People look at me strange when I say that, but it's the truth. It honestly happened.
But the life of an anchorman is not all fairy tale. Al Sanders has a knack for mixing hard work with good luck and a willingness to deal with the unexpected. For instance, on the day we caught him pedaling leisurely through the park, his bike developed a, well, mechanical problem.
Quarter mile, I break the tire. I have not changed personalities to be Al Sanders. And I think that is the greatest strength that I have brought to broadcasting. And that holds true for reporter. When I was a disc jockey, I talked the same. I never put on the heavy disc jockey spiel and all that other stuff. I never had to. Well, I couldn't do it, I guess. So I've just been me, and that's my greatest strength.
Al Sanders' day begins early as he leaves Television Hill to cover the day's story. It could be a crime or social problems or political news, but today the story is a midday ceremony to honor secretaries.
It's Secretary's Day. Remind everybody that line is for secretaries only.
What's your name?
Gloria Connor.
The first 200 were up there.
Connor.
What sort of approach do you take to a news story? What are your guidelines for, like, the story today?
That is not certainly the hardest news story I've ever covered in terms of content, news content. But there are some things to ask other than, gee, aren't you happy on this day, this week for secretaries? So I asked some of these secretaries how they felt about the progress that had been made. And is it real progress? Not just once a year, 1 week during 1 year when you seem to get the recognition you want. Got some very interesting answers, I think, because the story was approached as any other story should be approached, with just a little more in the way of searching for the best possible response from people than just the obvious.
Al Sanders' sense of journalism has been developed by wide experience over the years. As a young man in St. Louis, he worked as an insurance adjuster and a jazz band drummer. He landed a job at a local radio station doing the news, but stardom was slow in coming. This clipping from the 60s mistakenly identified Al as somebody else. Now, you'll notice that in his salad days, Al was known as Scoop Sanders, but then came the first TV job.
Somewhere around 1970, I think it was, I applied at a station in St. Louis. They were in need of a weatherman. And I went over, and I've told this story before, but I told the guy I never considered television. Never. Because everybody I see on television is slim and good-looking. And that just is not me. None of that. But I thought I'd give it a shot. And he said, well, you got a job, and I've been in television since.
Are you comfortable with the celebrity status that's been laid on you?
Well, it depends. Depends on when it's laid on me. If it means a good table in a restaurant, then I'm very comfortable. When my son turns to me, he's 5 years old, we're at the ballpark, and people kept running up asking for autographs. And he says, why do these people want your autograph? And I said, because I'm on television, and so I'm considered a celebrity, and people want celebrities' autographs. And he says, well, I think that's kind of dumb. And I just patted him on the head, and I said, well, we'll see. 3 more innings went by, he looked up at me and he said, Why don't you give me one of those? Because the other kids are wanting it.
He could have asked you for Jerry's autograph.
That's true, and I would have signed it for Jerry.
Back at the station, Al prepares his story for the 6 o'clock newscast. Editing and writing are the key skills for a reporter, and Al's skills are respected by another well-known anchorman.
He has all the tools to be great in this business, which I happen to think he is great. He puts together a beautiful presentation on the air. Is a great writer, has a terrific way with words, and again, I envy that too.
Could you work with Al for another 10 years?
Forever, yeah. We have a great time together.
Come on, Jerry, there must be something you don't like about him.
Well, there is.
What?
He cooks ribs at home. And he's been doing this for years now, and every weekend during the season, he'll cook up a big batch of ribs, and he'll say, I'm going to bring you some on Monday. He never has brought me any.
I dearly love the business I'm in. I really honestly look forward to starting a new day. I have a career in which I have been able to grow, to expand, and it has also resulted in a very comfortable living. So I don't think you can get much more than that out of life. But to have a job that is a career, that is something you want, to have a family, that's it. Still ahead, George Bauman goes diving for sunken treasure.
And what will he do next?
Another edition of Eyewitness News. Later, Al will go home to his family and leave the news business behind. But tomorrow, and for a long time to come, Al Sanders' personal success story will roll on. And even a flat tire won't slow him down.